Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leaders Without podcast. For this episode, I have a great guest, my new friend, Tyson from beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And Tyson is doing something amazing, is building a community that is all about serving others, being of service to others, and helping people to integrate the spiritual business growth with their business growth. That's something that's also I'm quite passionate about, and that's why he's here today on the Leaders Without podcast. Tyson, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, Payman, man. Awesome to be here. It's always fun to have a chat, especially when it comes to heart-centered, business growth or heart-centered growth in general. I mean, this is what we're passionate about, hey?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, for people who don't know you, who's Tyson? What's your story?
My story, man, I can go the long route, but I'll just basically start off by saying my big passion was with psychology. I'd always had a passion with psychology, always had a passion with understanding how the brain works and why people behave the way they do. But after 6 years of university, as many people will also resonate with, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I know I didn't want to work with mental disorders. I know I didn't want to become a formal psychologist. So I jotted off to Canada, obviously where you're hanging out. I lived there for 2 years, but when I was in Canada, I learned the difference between happiness and fulfillment, because I really started to see I'm happy day in, day out. I'm snowboarding, I'm meeting new people, I'm having crazy adventures, but deep down I was lacking fulfillment. I didn't have a purpose or a passion that I was working towards. And whenever someone mentioned, "Oh, what do you want to do with your psychology degrees?"
Mm,
I just had this fear in my stomach, just this uncertainty and this feeling of not being enough because I didn't have this calling or purpose. But that's really when I started getting into a lot of personal development. And the personal development route, I started to pick up a book. It might have been something. Actually, I started with Ty Lopez, his 67 steps and all these classic programs people do. So I started with that, and it got to the point where I found out that there was a coaching profession. I didn't know what it
mm,
was, but it seemed like it was helping everyday people do everyday things, and that felt more like a calling. And so while I was in Canada, I actually invested half of everything I had in the bank and jumped into my first coaching program. And that was with Tony Robbins, and learning all about how to become a coach.
wow,
I fell in love with it so much. I moved back to Melbourne, where I'm from, and started my own coaching business. And
wonderful.
went through, as we all do, going through that journey of just the craziness that is entrepreneurship, and the highs and lows, and the learning the different lessons and all those different things.
Hmm.
And yeah, now I find myself 7 or 8 years later work from home full time, coaching who I want to coach, falling in love with serving in terms of my community, and yeah, loving every crazy minute of it.
Beautiful, amazing story. You've covered quite a lot of things. We're going to get to that in a moment. But first, let me ask you some question. As I said, I'm mostly interested in knowing the person than the professional title. So let me ask you some question about that. First of all, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? I mean, besides waking up every day,
That's
there's
a great one actually.
I mean, I think that's like a lot of things that I see consciously as what makes me happy are things like my health and exercise and my family, and I love sport. I love playing guitar and just all those different things. I love dancing. I dance around my house all the time,
Wow.
and just be aloof. um but really
What
the
kind of
things that
dancing?
really just listening to top 40 stuff and just
Oh, I
hip
see.
hop and all the anything that has a good beat that really allows me to move my
Mm,
body, get me into a flow. I often just dance before getting on like coaching sessions or before I do my
that's awesome.
content and things like that, just to put me in a good mood.
Exactly.
One thing that gives me a lot of not just happiness but true joy is just living in the mystery of whatever the hell life's going to give me next. And I think I
Mm,
think enjoying the mystery of life, no matter what's going to happen next, and whether your mind wants it to happen or not. I find just allowing all the joys of life to flow through without resistance offers a lot of peace with it as well.
Absolutely beautiful. Beautifully said. What makes you smile?
Um, Whenever I'm hanging out with my twin, I have a twin brother.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, he used to live here as well, but he's moved in with his girlfriend. What makes me smile, man, just hanging out with him, and we just have the best time. Obviously, we basically share our life, but it doesn't matter how often we hang out with each other. We just always have a ball. We're always laughing. We're always playing jokes on each other, teasing each other, watching sport together, reminiscing about crazy memories, mostly of us on dance floors. But
Wow.
it's always a good time. It's such a blessing to have
Absolutely.
him, and to yeah, it's been good.
That's fantastic. What makes you sad and angry?
Sadness has actually been a big part of my life, especially in the last few weeks. And the reason being is because I I'm a big believer in meditating. I meditate about 2 hours a
Mm,
day,
wow.
and I just do it in silence. And as I do that, I allow everything to come up. I allow all emotions in terms of fears, doubts, worries, and including sadness. And some things around sadness that just consistently come up are things around past relationships, especially things that I've regretted, all those different things. But um, I truly believe that instead of trying to build my life and trying to change things to so I don't feel sad, I'm all for feeling sad. I'm all for just feeling fully, welcoming that in and loving that inner child, that inner 5-year-old who's
Mhm.
freaking out, that just wants to be seen. So yeah, especially the last weekend, a lot of sadness came up for me, which I just allowed to be there and processed. And yeah, there's definitely some tears, but it was a great space to be in. And like I said, when you're allowing without resistance, offers a lot of peace in it as well.
I see. What scares you?
What scares me? Definitely a lot of fear. A lot of fear always comes up around money and uncertainty around
Mm,
business for me, which is I find the universe just being in perfect harmony, because that's
yes.
exactly what I help people with. Exactly what I coach on. I coach a lot of people who, wanting to get into the entrepreneurial journey, but are worried about money, worried about what's next in my business. What do I do next so I don't mess up and so I don't fail? And so I find, because those fears are in me that are ready to be
Hmm.
healed and ready to be worked through and all those different things, there's a lot of harmony in that, I find.
That's for sure. That's for sure. Let me ask you now a couple of fun questions. When we grew up, when we were kids in primary school or secondary school, people always ask us, whether it's parents, teachers, relatives, friends, they ask us always, for example, Tyson, what do you want to become when you grow up? What was your answer back then?
I actually wanted to be a singer.
Oh,
I'm not a
wow.
very good singer, but I every single time we were singing in the car or singing with the
Mm,
family or anything like that, I always just wanted to be a singer. And
nice.
yeah, it never really happened. Maybe I'll have a surgeons in later in life and I might become a singer, but who knows?
What kind of
Um,
songs did you like to sing? What genre?
um, my first ever CD was the Lion King soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
So we love singing the Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
It's, as many people at my age, it was a big part of our childhood. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, there's always some good memories there. And even now my family sings songs from the Lion King and stuff like that. Good memories.
That's for sure. What was your favorite subject when you were a student back in school?
It would have definitely been psychology.
Mm,
As I said, explaining my story, it's always been a fascinating part of my life to just understand people and why we do what we do and how we do it. And it's always just been fascinating how the beliefs and thoughts of someone's mind can basically control their decisions. It's
mhm.
it's a big fascinating topic that I always love studying.
What was your least favorite subject at school?
I didn't like I disliked learning a different language.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah, I found it so challenging. We used to learn Japanese.
Oh wow.
So it's funny that you have the Japan sign behind you. the I found that was a big struggle.
Mind you,
Yeah.
Japanese is not the easiest language to learn.
Mm. No, it's not. I don't think any language is easy to learn. It's kind of if when I'm learning from scratch, it's quite difficult. But yeah,
Hmm.
but that was a challenging subject. I always loved sport, getting out and being
Mm.
active. That was always a fun subject.
What was
But
your favorite sport?
I played basketball growing up.
Oh, really? Wow.
So it's, yeah, kind of interesting. I'm not very tall. I'm about 5'9", but I played with some tall people that I just used to run
Hmm.
rings around. I was a point guard, but
Oh yeah.
playing sport, always getting out there and chasing a ball or throwing a frisbee or something was always my childhood. But basketball was the main piece.
No
I was
rugby
always
or no rugby?
no, I never got into rugby here in Melbourne. We're not that much into rugby. That's mostly up north in New South Wales or Queensland.
Really?
I now
Okay.
watch a lot of rugby. I'm a big fan of watching rugby now, but I never played it. I'm always fascinated with someone who plays rugby and who's able to take the contact the way they do.
Oh,
It genuinely like freaks me out. I'm like, how can someone? It's like surviving a
shakes
car
you.
crash. It's crazy the amount of force that they generate with no pads or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it fascinates me, but it's definitely like it's not a calling of mine.
No.
I would break my back or something.
Yeah, I totally respect the guys that play rugby. I grew up in the south of France. South of France is rugby country. So I did play a little bit, but again, I just couldn't take I wasn't just made for rugby. Instead I went into football, so soccer. So but yeah, I hear you, man. But the rugby players, I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but back in France, the rugby players at what we call the best third. You know, you have the first half, second half, and then in French we say troisième temps, which is basically the third quarter, which is basically the after game, the after party. They had some
Oh,
wild
okay.
after parties. You know, those guys know they played hard and then they partied hard. You know.
It's like the third half.
Yeah, exactly. It was always good. It was always the best place to go to be doing those third halves after a rugby game back there. Yeah.
Just party with a few beers or something like that. Is that how it
It's more
worked?
than a few beers. Trust me on that.
Oh, geez.
You see those guys? They built like fridges. They need more than
Yes.
just a few. You know.
Oh man, and
Cool.
especially since surviving, you're like basically celebrating that you're still alive after a rugby game, hey?
You see sometimes in rugby, you get a guy who was bleeding, it still continues, and a lot of time you see there's a scrum around and there's a guy being serviced by a doc with his face full of blood, and yet he still keeps on going. If it was any other sport, the guy would have been taken out, but this guy does.
Yeah.
There's an actually a saying in France among the rugby players said after a rugby game, if you don't have blood on your face, if you don't have a tooth falling, then you haven't played hard. It makes so much
That's the
sense.
mentality, isn't it?
I know. Awesome. Now, looking back on your path, um, how did you get on your current path? Was that like a very smooth sailing, or was it more like in multiple turns and twists along the way?
I don't think anything's really generally smooth. It's sort of
Hmm.
just it's. I mean, the way I find it is when you follow your heart's calling, your heart will never lead you to what's known.
Mm.
Your heart will always lead you to what's unknown because your heart is generally guiding you by something that's more than what your mind can see. And your mind's trying to see, the certain steps and certain, if I get here, then there, then there, then I'll achieve this. That's generally not what your heart's guiding you towards because it's guiding you something so much more. So it's always something that's outside your comfort zone, a big leap that you need to just trust, trust in your guidance, trust in the universe, whatever you want to call it. And so that offers so much variety and twists and turns that you had no clue were going to happen. And that's how I've sort of seen my life, and anyone who follows their heart really is what unfolds in front of them. I think.
At what? Yeah, makes sense. At what point did you realize that, hey, this is the right path for me?
It was, well, there's a couple times. One is when I did invest that half of everything I had in the bank when I was in Canada,
Hmm.
like I explained. That was a big decision because I had so much
Sure.
fear when I was in Canada. I was a poor traveling Australian, and I'm like, what
Hmm.
happens if I lose my job? What happens if I get kicked out of my house? What happens if I have to travel back to Australia and pay for a ticket or whatever? And it just felt, all I can describe, it just felt like a calling. It just felt so exciting despite scary. And making that decision set me on a trajectory that of just following this personal development, coaching, spirituality side of things that has offered so much blessing in my life. And it was really a decision. It was like a meta decision that allows me to reflect on when I do make decisions now. And that is to follow your heart and trust your heart's excitement, despite how scary it is to the mind. And that's how I make decisions now. And yeah, that was a very big piece.
I can imagine for sure. Tell us a little bit about your current business.
Current business. So the current business I have, obviously, I have a big passion for spirituality and your spiritual growth and integrating that with your business growth. And the
Hmm.
reason being is because I found that so many business owners are consciously or unconsciously building their business from fear. And the question I ask everyone that I work with or everyone who's in the serving circle, the community, is around what's the worst case scenario? What does your
Yes,
mind
sir.
or your ego not want to have happen? And sometimes that will be being alone or going broke or not being enough or being judged. And so, one thing I started learning after coaching just hundreds of business owners one on one is that most weren't building their business from their passion, from their true joy, from freedom, from peace. They were building their business so they don't feel alone, right? Or they're building their business so they don't feel broke and so they don't go broke, or so they don't feel like, their parents are going to abandon them. And that's the fear, that's the fear and trauma and wounding that's in their that's hardwired in their biochemistry and in their physiology, is that they need to succeed to feel enough. They need to succeed and make money to feel safe. And that's really where they're building their businesses from.
Okay, yes, I totally agree with what you just said. And, you know, I'm sure you heard the saying that says, change your story, change your life. And by story, I mean, the conversation we have all day long with ourselves. That's, oh, you're no good, you can't do that, or whatever, and so on. So I'm sure most of us have had to change our story in order to level up and reach our goals and dreams. Have you had to do that yourself? And if yes, what did you do to change your story so that you can get closer to your goals and dreams?
Yeah. The story I started that really shifted for me is realizing that as we heighten our level of consciousness, it's
Hmm.
no longer it's no longer the um it's no longer the one who, is the most driven, is the most strategic, that often finds success and fulfillment. The story I now believe, and the story I started to shift within myself, is that if I'm to succeed, if I'm to have the freedom that I want and succeed at the level that I want, I have to love the side of me that can fail. Or to achieve financial freedom and receive the abundance that I want, I have to love the side of me that will go broke. Right. If I'm to get out there and build a community and to find success with an engaging community, I have to love the side of me that can be judged. And I think we're getting to a place where it's that sort of paradigm is more and more prominent. And so that's the sort of
Yes.
story that shifted within me, is that I don't have to achieve to be enough. I have to love the side of me that feels not enough and realize that who and what I am is enough. Who and what I am is love. Who and what I am is safety and abundance, and realizing that it's all within me anyway. So that was a big shift, a big paradigm that I try and live by every day.
I really agree with that. Especially you just said something that's very powerful, and you just mentioned that a few minutes ago. You said what's the worst case scenario? What the worst that can happen? That's something that also Tim Ferriss emphasizes on, is that when you want to start a business, always ask yourself, especially if you're doubting, if you're not sure, ask yourself what is the absolute worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, you might have to come to move back with your parents, and you might have to get a crappy job for a month or two. But is that really that bad to go for your dreams? For 99% of the kids, it's not. So once you have that, especially on paper, then you know, hey, F it. Stop worrying. Just go for it.
Mm.
And that is so true. And again, it's all about self-belief. A lot of times, we a lot of people lack the self-belief because for whatever reason, especially because of society, or because people tell us you need to be nice, you need to be polite, and you need to not listen too much to your intuition, your gut feeling. And our gut feeling is basically what our subconscious mind, the universe, and God is basically communicating with us, telling us, hey, this is the right thing. For example, let's say you get into a meeting, or you're at a crossroad about a big business decision or whatever, and you don't know what to do. Just listen to your heart, listen to your gut feeling. The first gut feeling, the hunch you get, is usually the right one. And people are being told by society and whatever to not act on those, and instead be polite, do the right thing that people want them to do. And that's not the way to go, because it's ultimately you'll be going down a path that is doesn't really, it's not your path, it's someone else's path that they want for you. And if you do that, that's a recipe for failure. So, and you mentioned another thing, which is, you said, all the answers are within. You're more than enough. A lot of people, when we want some kind of guidance, we look for guidance or validation from outside forces, from authority, whether they be parents, teachers, boss, or the government. Whereas, and 99.9% of the time, we don't need to get outside, validation or whatever. We have all the answers within, you know. And it's awesome that you're doing, you know, um, meditation is one great way to get in touch with your real you, your highest level, your spiritual you, your to get in touch and connection with your soul, because that's what's really guiding you. I mean, that's amazing. You're doing absolutely fantastic, especially at this young age. How did you get into this spiritual journey? Was it a specific event, or was it something that progressive, or did you grow up in a spiritual environment? How do you get into that?
I didn't grow up in a spiritual environment. I was never really interested in it. And it was really only when I was a few years into my business
Mm.
and I was doing quite well. I was making my first 10K months, and I was getting a lot of engagement on my post and things like that, um, until I wasn't. All of a sudden, income dried up, clients dried up. I had to give refunds to some clients through like
Wow.
crazy circumstances, like
Mm-hmm.
like lawsuits and brain injuries and things. And I was like, what the hell is happening? I'm like, what lesson am I here to learn? Because as I started feeling so much fear around money and fear around not succeeding, I had to ask myself those questions. I'm like, why am I scared? And am I building my business so that I can feel safe? So because income is my safety, or so I can feel enough, because if I'm a success and people will look at me in this way. And that's the story, and that's the egoic structure that was breaking down as I started as these expectations started falling away. And so a big shift happened for me. The spiritual journey happened for me, where instead of making the decision to build my business from a place of scarcity and a place of fear, I decided to sit in this chair for about 6 hours and just allow all of it to be there. So just to welcome in all of the fear. Instead of building my business from fear, I would just sit with the side of me that was scared and just welcome in the uncertainty, welcome in the doubt, the fears, the worries, the concerns, and just allow it to be there. And I started realizing that all of it's actually coming up because it's ready to leave. It's coming up because it's ready to be seen. These inner wounds are ready to be healed. And it was actually after that meditation of just sitting there with, I had like tears coming down my face.
Mm.
I had the insight that if I was to build a community and just fall in love with serving, fall in love with that art of just genuinely serving, then everything else take care of itself. And that's exactly what happened. I built the serving circle, as you've mentioned, and now it's just like thriving with over 1,700 members, and so engaging. It's such a good community that everyone's getting so much value from it. I believe that came from me healing the wounds within me that were ready to be seen. And that's really what started me on the spiritual journey in terms of learning more about who and what I am. Who and what am I really behind all the egoic structures and the expectations and attachments to money and success and relationships and these different things. And I went down this path of learning about Buddhism and Taoism and
Wow.
all these ancient philosophies and applying that into my business, applying that to my journey in my life. And yeah, it's been a journey ever since. I started meditating about 2 hours a day in silence, and I've been doing
Wow.
that for about 2 years. So it's just been placing my soul and my spirit and the connection with my higher self first, and then the business side of things starts to flow as a byproduct of that.
That's amazing. You mentioned that you help people to integrate the spiritual business growth with their business growth. How do you exactly do that? What's the process? Let's say, for example, someone is looking to do that. What's the process? Let's say, for example, I want to get in. What's the process? How do I,
Totally.
how do you do it, and how do I benefit from it?
Well, the benefits are that we work on not only, like I just mentioned, we work on the strategies and the tools and tactics in terms of creating the right message, in terms of
Mhm.
creating an irresistible offer, in terms of over delivering. So you create this raving fan base. I believe those are the key elements of really
Absolutely.
diving deep on building a business. But what matters most is your soul. What matters most is the connection with you, who and what you are, um, beneath everything. And so all my clients are generally meditating in silence. They're doing the inner work to heal these inner wounds, heal these inner patterns. And the reason being is because that's what provides the resourcefulness for the
Mhm.
business strategy. What I realize is a lot of businesses are trying to learn business strategies from a place of safety. They're trying to find what are the 5 steps so I can get this result. And that's all great. There's always a place for strategy. I just think the intention has generally been from safety that says, I need to achieve without risking failure. But your heart will never guide you there. Your heart is always expanding to something that's more, expanding to something that's unknown. And I believe that when you do the meditations, when you do your inner healing, when you heal these inner wounds, it provides you with the courage, the creativity, the flow, the alignment, the fun and playfulness to integrate that into your business messaging, creating offers, doing your marketing in a way that's aligned and fun, doing all these different things in terms of over delivering for your clients and falling in love with serving your clients.
Mhm.
So that's success financially, in terms of clients, in terms of reach. Those sort of things are the byproduct of what's flowing through you when you do these inner healings.
That's amazing. And you do this healings in a group session or one on one, or
I right now I'm running a group coaching program, and that's been it's been running for a year and a half now or so, and clients love it. We do 2 group coaching calls a week where we focus both on the business strategy and on the inner work and the inner healings. So it's mostly group, but I also do offer one-on-one work as well. If people want to go dive in deep and start to learn the unconscious patterns within themselves that they might be missing and things that they might be avoiding or resisting. So we definitely work on both those modalities, both in group work and in one-on-one as well.
that's awesome. What's the what's your ideal client avatar?
They're generally what most people would associate as light workers. So light workers are those
Mm,
who have a mission to heighten consciousness. They have a mission to help people realize who and what they are, and that can come in different varies of modalities. But if you're here to help the world in some way, either heighten consciousness or spread emotional awareness, they're really my ideal clients because that's part of my mission, and it's really by expanding your business, you're really helping more people, and that's really what I'm here to do is help them find creative ways to deliver on their marketing and their messaging and all these different ways in which they can help more people. Because I think the more people that get that type of message and get that type of help, it sends a ripple effect of heightened, more consciousness, more love, more kindness. And I think that's what the world needs right now.
Well, absolutely. And I'm on the same mission as I told you. I'm building, a community, a platform to not only bring, enlightened entrepreneurs to share their stories, but most importantly, to inspire others. Because as I said before that, not any single individual can change the world, but if each of us, do a little bit in our own small little sphere of influence, and we can inspire and help just one person, and that person goes on to help another person, and so on and so forth. Together, collectively, as a force, we can shift, the vibration, the frequency of this world into a more positive one. And right now, what this world needs more than ever is more positivity. So, I love what you're doing. That's amazing. Tell me about the most remarkable transformation you've seen from someone going through your program.
Oh man, so many. One of the it's a bit of a long story, but I'll cut it short. One of the guys was starting to work with me. He had a successful coaching business, but then all of a sudden he fell out of alignment with it. He found himself not knowing what he wanted to do with his business, but also he had a $360,000 tax bill that he didn't know how to pay. And he didn't know how to pay it. He wasn't sure. But he started working with me and realized that he had to heal the side of him that could go broke. He had to heal the side of him who came from a family of a poor immigrant. And so he started healing the side of him that could go broke or that was bad with money or whatever it may be, and started to surrender to the outcome. He said, I'm just going to surrender and allow, and whatever answers come, is going to come. The IRS called him a couple of weeks later and said, you actually don't have to pay this bill.
Wow.
And he had been struggling. He had been dealing with them for months without any solution. And then as soon as he started surrendering, they called him and said, actually, you don't have to pay this. Not only that, but he said that they actually owe him $90,000.
Oh my God. Wow.
So he was just like freaking out, being like, man, what the hell does this mean? And I have a rule when people work with me that if they have a heart's calling, if they have a whatever their heart's leading towards, they have to do. So he now, and for him, it was to sell he had this mansion basically in the US, and he sold his mansion, sold his car, and now he's starting to travel around as a digital nomad, helping people with something of a similar mission in terms of heightening consciousness. But that's a clear example of what happens when you surrender, when you deepen your level of allowing, when you heal what is ready to be healed. The outside world will reflect that. It can't not. And so instead of trying to change your life and trying to change your external circumstances to feel better, what we want to do is we want to start to feel and heal, feel fully so you can heal these inner wounds. The outside will shift anyway, and you'll start to do it from a place of peace.
How do you surrender?
What I do when I sit in silence is I have an intention to feel fully, to connect deeper with myself. And the reason being is because if you were to welcome in any uncomfortable emotion, whether it be fear or worry or stress or doubt, you describe it in your body. So you have a feeling in your chest, you have a tightness in your stomach or an emptiness, or it feels jagged or it feels hot. And you breathe with it, you breathe deep, and you allow that sensation to be there. Instead of trying to avoid it, instead of trying to resist it, instead of trying to react to it, you just allow it to be there for as long as it needs to. And you realize that it's actually coming up because it's ready to be released. It's coming up because it's ready to be healed. It often helps if you imagine a 5-year-old sitting on your lap that's just scared, that's just ready to be seen, that's just worried, that just, needs unconditional love. And the reason why these patterns heal is because as you hold a loving, safe space for that inner 5-year-old that's scared, you become the parent that they wish they had. You become that parent with unconditional love, unconditional safety, where you just allow them to feel, to believe, to think whatever they feel, believe, and think. and therefore they're able to, those patterns are able to heal, they're able to transcend. And therefore, when you go out into the world, you're not doing it from a place of fear or a place of scarcity. You're not doing it from a pattern. You're doing it from your heart. You're doing it from your spirit, with the amount of flow, creativity, love, joy, peace, fun, whatever you want to inject in there. That's just the work that I love doing, and businesses transform as a byproduct of that.
That's amazing. Wow. I'm definitely interested in finding out more about that. You said that you have a weekly call. You invited me for that for tomorrow night, 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
What is that about? Tell us more about that.
So this is what the Serving Circle does. Anyone can search the Serving Circle on Facebook to jump into that community. It's really a call where we all jump on Zoom and we find creative ways to help each other. I believe that if we come from a place of selfless service, we tap in more into who and what we are in terms of our heart. What happens is your business grows as a byproduct of being in that frequency. I actually started this by reaching out to mentors of mine or people I wanted to add to my network and serving them, asking them, who can I send your way that's an ideal client or a key source of collaboration? And I actually did it. And
Love
that
that.
network started to expand, that momentum started to expand to a point where it just had so much momentum that I was just meeting new people every week, whether that be collaborations or clients or whatever it is. And from that, that's where the Serving Circle really started expanding. And now we just do that on Zoom. We get, 20, 30, 40 people each week jump on Zoom, and people are able to share their business, and everyone else on the call just ask themselves that resourceful question of, how can I serve this person? How may I serve you? Is it supporting some posts? Is it organizing a collaboration? Is it connecting you with someone in particular? Is it maybe we can organize the service exchange, or you can be on my podcast, I can be on yours, or your Facebook group, or whatever it may be. And you just come from a playful place of selfless service. And everyone's starting to find that their business grows as a byproduct of that. It's just, it's an amazing energy.
I love that. How many people usually per week attend those calls?
So it's been up to, a few months ago, we actually used to get about 50 people. Lately, the things have sort of changed. We're starting to get about 25 to 30 people each week, with a bunch of new faces every time, which is great. And things is like, it's a very, very engaging group. As soon as someone just jumps on there to share about their business or who they can get connected with, they always have like 7 or 8 people who jump on and who want to reach out and help. And so it's everyone just comments on the energy. Sometimes people just jump on and just engage because of the energy of just love and kindness and support and compassion.
Love that.
That's what I find we need more of.
Mm-hmm. So basically, on the call, especially the new people introduce themselves and they say what business they're in, and then who they can help, and so on and so forth.
Yep. So they can either sit back and relax and be more a fly on the wall, or people can jump on and share what they're all about. They generally share, 1, what their business is, 2, who we can connect them with, and 3, how the group can help them most. And that's where we can start to find creative ways in which we can serve this person. And like I said, if you're in a space of service, it'll do that frequency will do more for your business than anything else.
Wow.
And so this is just the environment in which you can do that.
I love that. I think the world definitely needs more groups and people like that. Will definitely need to promote your group as much as possible, because what you're doing is basically connecting the right people that are doing good things. I'm a connector myself. I love bringing people together, but you're doing it at another level, which is, people that are to serve others, and that's absolutely beautiful. I really salute you for that. You're a true leader with a heart. I can't wait. I'm actually very happy that we connected through an amazing lady that I had on my podcast 2 weeks ago, Trish. She was the one that mentioned you. She's an absolute angel. I just love connecting with her and super fun to talk to. And she said, "Hey, by the way, do you know this guy? You know, Tyson." She told me about you. And I said, "Wow, connect me, please." I mean, the week before, I completely, I got the timing wrong. I thought it was 8 p.m., the 7 p.m. my time. But for
Oh yeah.
tomorrow night, even though it's going to be a busy day tomorrow as well. I have 3 podcasts, the last one at 6 o'clock. So we'll try to rush that one to make sure that I can show up on time for your call. And if there's
Yeah,
any
man,
way I
love to
can
have you
help,
there.
anyone, it would be my utmost honor. So yeah, man, absolutely amazed. Thank you for what you're doing, seriously, and I mean it, because what you're doing God's work on this planet. So you have the universes and my modest, full, blessings as well.
Thank you, man. Man, it's been a pleasure. Awesome, and it's good to see you're following your heart as well and doing what you can to serve and help. And yeah, you're being an example for everyone else out there. So no doubt this is sending a ripple effect of people who are giving permission for them to follow their heart. Hey, so we'd love to have you in the
Absolutely.
serving circle and on the collaborative calls. I'd love to
I
connect with a few
will.
more people as well.
I will definitely, and I will do whatever we can to help you promote your community, because that's a community that's worth, you know, promoting. I'm not saying that just because I'm talking to your friend, because I really mean it, because I love what you're doing, and
Thank
that's a
you.
kind of thing that definitely needs to be shared and spread far and wide. So keep
Thank
doing
you.
what you're doing. But before we finish, I want to ask you some fun questions. First of all, do you have your own podcast?
I do. It's called Awaken Your Business. Like I said, when
Awesome.
I have live coachings on there. I have solo episodes. I have interviews. I have all the modalities to help people with spirituality and business. It's been a lot of fun.
What's it called again? Sorry.
Awaken Your Business.
Awaken your business. Okay, awesome. I will definitely check it out. I'll put it in the show notes. Awaken your business. Okay, now imagine that, okay, you have your podcast, and for this episode, you have the most amazing, the most special and important person in the world, which is yourself. What will be the first question you will ask yourself, and why?
First question I ask myself is what's on your heart. I think
Mm,
that's always a question I'm asking myself and people, because it can be different every day, but it's something that it's a deep question of just like, what are you feeling right now? What's on your heart? What do you want to do next? What are you excited about? Um, yeah,
I
it's
love
a
this
deep
question.
question I like to ask.
I love this question. Actually, I just added to the list of questions I'm going to ask from now on. Okay, that's awesome.
Go for it.
All right, cool. Now, um, imagine that you have a time machine and you're sitting face to face with your 18-year-old self. What would be the number one piece of advice you'd give yourself? You give your 18-year-old self, knowing what you know now.
Just trust you're divinely guided, you're divinely protected. I think the anxieties and worries of an 18-year-old resemble that lack of trust that you're
Mm,
on your path. So when you no matter what's happening externally, just to have that deep knowing and that trust that you're being guided and you're exactly where you need to be is is exactly what I'd need to hear, I think.
absolutely amazing. Now, imagine that you could choose any one superpower for the rest of your life. Only one. Which one would it be, and why?
Whew.
Can be, would you like to fly, be able to breathe underwater, teleport, speak telepathically, read people's mind, see the future, see the past?
I don't think
Anyone?
I'm I don't think I'm ready to read people's minds. I don't, I'm not ready to know that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to fly. Always
Oh
wanted to
wow.
fly. I always have dreams of flying.
Hmm.
Um, that's one that comes to mind first of all. So we'll go with that.
All right, that's wonderful. Do you have any parting tips for anyone that wants to, just like you said, be align the business with the heart?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just the reminder of being aware when you're avoiding or resisting or reacting to emotion.
Hmm.
So if you're building your business as a way for it to not feel fear, or as a way to, you're doing something out of an addiction to avoid feeling stress or worry or whatever it may be. There's always an encouragement for me to just to sit and feel fully. If you feel fully, you're able to follow what your heart's guiding you towards. If you do that without any expectation or assumption as to what will happen next, that's really that's really what I lay out for my clients. There's three steps. There's one, feel fully. Two, follow your heart, take your heart's leaps. And three is separate yourself from any attachment or expectation or assumption as to what will happen next. And you'll find success will be a byproduct, but you'll do it from a place of love and peace.
That's amazing. Wonderful. And what's the best way for people to connect with you?
I mostly use Facebook as a way for people to contact me. You can look me up. I'm sure you provide the links, but you can find the Serving Circle on Facebook by just searching that
Okay.
on there in terms of groups. Um, anything else in terms of contact me, you can go to tysoncoaching.com. Tysoncoaching.com is where all the links are and all the emails and stuff like that. It's always a good place to go.
And you mentioned your podcast is called Awaken Your Business.
Yes. Yep.
All right,
Awaken Your
cool.
Business is the podcast. You can jump on there as well.
Awesome. Fabulous. Well, listen, Tyson, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor connecting with you. I salute you. You're a true leader with a heart. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing God's word on this planet. You definitely you deserve to be, to have your message more spread far and wide because, again, it's you're doing the world a service. It's a win-win for everyone because one thing that a lot of people, especially in the Western world, are lacking is a lack of purpose. Most people just pursue money and material things, and once you reach that, you will be left with, is there all there is to it? Like
Mhm.
anything you go after, whether it's a new car, a new house, a new phone, whatever, after a week or two, it's going to be like any toy. You're going to get tired of it, and then you will be wondering, you- is all there is to it? What's next? And you will have this sinking feeling of of emptiness. Whereas if you have a passion, a purpose that is bigger than you, that it's not just about you and chasing another digit on your bank account or whatever, then in the morning when you wake up, you won't have to be you won't be first of all sneezing the alarm button. You will not be, oh my god, I'm gonna go to today. Instead, you'll be bolting out of bed like a rocket. You will not even need an alarm clock because your purpose will be your alarm clock. You will wake up with passion. So that's one thing that a lot of people are lacking, is a purpose. And the best way to do that is to build a business that is cause oriented. And I'm an executive contributor to Brains Magazine, which is a global online magazine for entrepreneurs. And I got 2 articles published there. The first one was on don't build just a business, build a business with a heart. I list out all the benefits of building a business with a heart. So I can send that to you to read because it's really something that you and others can benefit as well. But also because once you're building a business that there's a purpose, you will feel a different person. Because I read a quote that resonated with me a long time ago, which is the 2 most important dates in our lives are, first, when we are born, and second, when we realize why we are here. Once you understand your mission, your reason of being here in this planet, on this lifetime, then you will be a different person. You will be a completely different person for the better. And that's what having a cause can is one of the best ways to actually find that purpose, that mission, that direction, that drive. So as you can see, I'm extremely passionate about that. When I start talking, I cannot stop. But I'm gonna stop now because want to keep this short and sweet. So yeah, man, absolute honor. You're a legend. Thank you for doing what you are and for being what you are. You're a true leader with a heart. You have a beautiful heart. Just keep blessing the world with your presence and with your goodness.
Thank you. Will do. Only because you told me to.
Yes, absolutely. Just do it. And yeah, man, thank you for that. And I'll see you tomorrow in your call tomorrow night.
Thank you. Payman, pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much.
Take care. Take care. Ciao.